My first go-go experience was in 1978. It was Trouble Band and Show back then. It wasn't Trouble Funk. I had actually just gotten with the group, and we was a top 40 R&B cabaret group, and we did a cabaret at this place called the Club the Burn, and it was located in Palmer Park, Maryland. There would be a crowd of people standing out in line, waiting for the 12 o'clock show, which was the go-go, what they called the go-go back then, and they still call it the go-go now. But it was Chuck Brown, the Soul Searchers playing, and their performance was from 12 midnight to 6 in the morning. So I was curious. As I hung around, I wanted to see what it was all about. When I heard that beat, and I seen Chuck do what he do with that beat, I knew that was something I wanted to do. It was just like an instant connection right there. So fast forward, we wind up some kind of way rehearsing at the Club The Burn on Wednesdays in exchange for opening up for Chuck. That was the deal. Around about then, Chuck had just recorded. It wasn't even released. He had just recorded Bustin' Loose. We opened up for Chuck, and like the first I'd say about 3 or 4 weeks, 3 weeks to a month, the people would not dance. They just look at us like we were like from some foreign country or something, man. They was like, one guy even said, "Come back in Juvember." I looked at T-Bone, I said, "Man, what's Juvember? What's that?" T-Bone say, "Man, shorty, that means don't come back." And what happened is, after the show, we was playing some of the same top 40s, and we were playing them well. But after the show, they would go in the back and get to arguing, and pointing the finger as of why the people didn't respond like they responded to Chuck. And then they would go home. I would hang around and just trying to figure out exactly what was going on, between Chuck and the audience. And I knew it was a connection with the percussion, Chuck, and the audience that had something to do with why these people was going so crazy. I studied that for a good few months. And keep in mind is that I was just a bass player. I didn't have a microphone, when I first got in trouble, band and show. So one day I went to Rio and I said, Rio, I think I know what it takes to make these people respond to what we're doing, but I'm going to need a microphone. So Rio said, this was at rehearsal, and Rio said, "Well, we tried everything else. We'll let you try and see what you can do." But we stumbled up on something new. Like every show, Rick Wellman, the drummer for Chuck and the Soul Searchers, he would start off like, they would go, "Wind me up, Chuck." And right now to the day that Chuck passed, that was his thing right there. The people would get him wind up before he come on. And this happened way back in 78. And he did it up until 20 went whatever, So back to the Club The Burn. Rick would come up that joint, boom, going to the beat. Chuck would get the rapping to him, and then he'd ease his way into a top 40 tune. And the people stayed on the floor, grooving. You know what I'm saying? It was like, it was almost like he hypnotized you. You didn't even realize he went from a beat to a song because he did it so smooth. And then when he finished with that song, he'd go back into the beat. He would never stop. The only time Chuck would stop is when he intentionally want to take a break, and he'll play a slow song. That's what I figured out that we was doing differently. Every song we played, we would stop, clean break. They wasn't feeling that at all. They wasn't even feeling, as well as we was playing the top 40s, they wasn't even feeling the songs because of the way we brought them in. You know, we didn't give them that pocket, you know what I'm saying, to get them warmed up into things, you know. So our very first song, original, that Dyke and I created, was off the beat that I put together called Roll With It. It worked so well where other bands started using that roll with the bridge. That was the first tune the first beat that actually got the people dancing. We borrowed, I wouldn't say stole, but we borrowed a lot of ideas from Chuck. And we just took it to a whole nother level. I mean, you know, Chuck came in that joint one day and they seen all them people dancing, looking around, seen some jaws dropping and stuff. And so after the show, Chuck went to Ted and said, I don't want them boys playing with me no more. They stealing my music. So Chuck gave Ted an ultimatum, say, hey, either they got to go or we leaving. So Ted was like, okay, well, we going to stick with Trouble because, you know, you getting ready to go on tour anyway. Bustin' Loose had just came out, you know, and Bustin' Loose was hot, but, you know, Trouble Funk wasn't going nowhere. We was going to be there for a minute. So by the time Chuck Brown came on tour, it was like Trouble was headlining. Here's the thing about DC. When you leave DC for a while, out of sight, out of mind. You know what I'm saying? They don't care how good you were when you left. Somebody's going to fill that slot. And when you come back, it's going to take you a minute to get back. You know what I'm saying? To get back in that slot. I gotten to know Chuck. One day he called. I picked up the phone, hello. And Chuck, I didn't know it was Chuck, but he go, who is this? I said, this is Tony. He's like, boy, take some of that bass out your voice. I say, man, this is how I talk. Yeah. So he used to tease me. He said, man, you should play football or something. What you doing? What you doing playing music? You got a football frame. I said, nah, man, I like this music thing. Yeah, I'm good. I don't know, Chuck and I, you know, I can't honestly say how we became such good friends, but, you know, I really admired Chuck. He was like my idol and didn't even know it, you know. He was my teacher and didn't even know it. And I got a chance to tell him that once we really, really got to know each other, you know. And Chuck used to tell him, he said, man, I always wanted to talk to you, and if I could have got you back then, man, you know, I could have really showed you something because you get that big old voice. I was like, Chuck, I wish I would have known that, man, because, you know, I studied you, man, you know, from day one, and you're the reason why I wanted to do this music. Yeah, E-flat Boogie was our first tune, and that tune came about because I was trying to play Bustin' Loose and we could not, you know, get the right key, you know, to save our life. And it's like, you know, we thought something was wrong with the record player at the time, and come to find out, he had tuned the bass down to E flat to play that Bustin' Loose, get that deep note. And when I found out that we played it in E flat and it all locked together. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take this same key and I'm going to create a song called E-flat Boogie. So that's how E-flat Boogie came along. Chuck came on in, and here's the thing. We had developed, just from knowing each other, we just developed a chemistry together. You know, the first time we worked, we never rehearsed. We went in the studio and we just did it. And it was like magic, you know. 1990, the ladies gonna have big heinies. So we would be playing the groove, and I just follow up him. It sure looks good to me. Sure looks good to me. And then I go, hey Chuck, let's get to the good part. And he would scat and do his thing. I did. I wrote a tune that was kind of inspired. It was a lot of crazy stuff going on back then. This is like I said again, 1990, 1991, somewhere in that area. And here it is, like 2016, just to show how long ago that's been. 2016, man. It's like we did this tune called Unity back in 1990, 1991, somewhere, give or take a few months. And this tune was inspired. It inspired me to write this tune with some of the personal things I went through with my brothers. You know, I got two brothers that was murdered, and then I had one brother that was incarcerated for murder. I was like feeling some kind of way, you know, and I wrote this tune called Unity, and I was like, you know, Chuck, I wrote this tune, man. I went to Chuck and said, I wrote this tune, and I like for you to sing a verse of it, man, because it was just, I want to try to raise some type of consciousness about all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world, you know. And I told him how the thing went. He liked it. He was like, cool, let's do it, you know. So we went to the studio. So Chuck came in there and hit the time is now, stand up and be counted. People of the nation, the bell, that sounded. And yeah, he was like, wow, that's deep. That's, you know what I'm saying? And then I came in with my verse, you know. At the time, even after we finished, I just didn't think it was the right time to release it. For some reason, it was a good tune back then, but I just wasn't feeling the time was right to release it. So I held on to that tune for a long, long, long time. What my partner Wiz and I decided to do, I had talked to him, I think it was like 15. It was like 2015. And I say, man, I think it's about time to release that joint now with all the crazy stuff that's going on, you know. That tune now is even more relevant than with the lyrics. I say we just had to take and figure out a way to put some more up-to-date music and fly the vocals in. This is the results of something that we did 25 years ago. This is the results of what we have now, you know. And again, my man Chuck, you know, may he rest in peace. I think if he was still here, well, I know if he was still here, he'll be very proud of what I did with, what we did, my partner Wiz and I, what we did with this track. It's magic. The way I see this tune is like it's like a up-to-date version of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? If you listen to the lyrics, listen to the message. You know what I'm saying? By the same token, it's offering a suggestion or a solution, you know, of the crazy things that's going on in the world. And yes, we do need unity in this world. I think that's the answer to a lot of the problems that's going on in the world. We need to unify more. We need to come together and just try to love each other more. You know, life is very short. You know, and you know, we need to try to just spend more time just making the best out of what God gave us. You know, the life that God gave us to live. Chuck is just the type of guy you gotta love him. I mean, one of the nicest cats in the world. you know. And I'm just proud to have been a close and personal friend. And I'm also proud to say that we had a chance to work together. It was an experience that I'll never forget. And I love you, Chuck. You know, if you can hear me, brother, I just want you to know I'll never forget you. And you'll always be here in my heart.